Welcome everyone to another episode of Elvis Type Podcast. It's your host Travis and Jon. Jon, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Today, what we want to go over is our top episodes of 2022. Let's start off 2023 with remembering 2022.
Yeah, let's find some motivation. Let's reflect on the last year. Look at some of our top downloaded podcasts.
Dude, what a crazy year it's been for our podcast. The amount of support in these last couple months of the year has just been phenomenal. The guests this year have not disappointed. I don't think we had any guests where I did not enjoy their interview. You know what I mean? And I feel like the better we get at this podcast, the better our guests are as well for people, not only for ourselves in our conversations, but also for like the people at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely mine the knowledge a little better. You know what I mean? But that just comes with everything, just like Jiu-Jitsu. We just got to practice.
Yeah, and we are... Before, at the time of the recording, we're 71 episodes deep in the podcast. Maybe 72, depending on when this one comes out. This might be 72. But it has been a wild ride. People that we've had on the show this year, I would have never have guessed that they were going to be on the show. And it's been crazy, man. So thank you guys. First of all, before we get into this list, I just want to say thank you guys at home for the continuous support this year. If you looked at our analytics, January of 2022 is really when the trajectory started to go up for us. And I don't know what changed. Maybe we got better at our jobs. But I just honestly can't say thank you enough for all the continuing support. And because of you guys is the reason we're able to do this and able to, bring these people on. And it's very humbling. So thank you guys so much for that. Right, Jon?
Yeah, and what I like too is we're getting to follow the success of the people that we bring on.
Yeah,
so
that's really cool.
It's just really interesting to see like all the positive people that are in jiu-jitsu and watching them also get success that they're looking for.
Yeah, it's really cool to see people that are that have been on our show and then see them get their, the next belt, or they start their own podcast, or just like they have success in their lives. It's really cool to be able to connect with them with that mutual love of jiu-jitsu and being on the best show, the best podcast out there. If you're asking me, I may be a little biased, but but let's go ahead and jump into the list. Number 5. Jesus. I just started drinking a beer, and I don't have any excuse.
Yeah,
but
it's been a long time since we've had an IPA, so bear with us.
Yeah. By the way, before we get into this, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm drinking a Voodoo Ranger. I don't know if maybe I'll be able to zoom in on this, but it's a Voodoo Ranger experimental IPA from New Belgium. Pretty good. Not a big fan of IPAs really anymore. Jon and I talk about this all the time.
We kind of tapered off on them.
Yeah, IPAs aren't really our thing now. It's I can drink one and that's it. So I like drinking a little bit more than just one beer at a time. That sounds kind of bad, but it's just saying
they're not calorie wise. They're not the best choice for us.
Yeah. So, but anyways, so a number 5 for us is going to be one of our dear friends, Jim Trick from MyWhiteBelt on Instagram. He also does the MyWhiteBelt podcast. He came on the show his episode released June 25th of this year, and we saw a lot of good feedback from him. A lot of our friends actually came to us and said, "Hey, I didn't even know who this guy was, but now I follow him on Instagram. Now I listen to his podcast, and it's great." And what's really cool is Jim has had even more success since our episode. He's gained probably 20,000 followers on Instagram since our episode. He started his podcast, his newsletter, all these great things for him. And it was a really good, really good interview with him. Jon, what did you think about that episode?
I remember his being very motivational.
Yeah.
I took a lot out of his, and on this journey, sometimes you just need that motivation, and it's good to see other people, their struggles, where they at now, and just taking that and applying it to my own game, personal life too.
Yeah. It's cool hearing from, much like Ben Phelps, hearing from someone that had like a lot of weight loss, a lot of things in their way in life, and how they overcome these adversities. And if you guys don't know Jim's story, he was extremely obese growing up and into his adult life, and then like 10 years ago, I think he said, right? 10 years ago is when he started his weight loss journey. Has lost over 160 pounds, I think it was. And, now he's a jiu-jitsu purple belt. And I would love to roll with Jim. Jim actually lives about 40 minutes away from my mom. So if I ever go visit my mom, I'm going to hit up Jim and go to First Colony. That's where he trains at, and train with him. Is there anyone that you've wanted to roll with in our...
Ooh, man, I don't know. Maybe Steve Kwan.
Yeah.
I like to conceptually think, and I like thinking like that. I think that would be entertaining.
Yeah.
I bet it'd be like a chess game,
Yeah.
Slow one.
And he's a black belt. Yeah. So, but that's Jim. Jim is our number 5 episode. A great episode. If you guys haven't listened to Jim, I'm pretty sure everyone that has followed us listens to Jim episode, because it's we have our podcast kind of align our goals with our podcast, and our following and our audience is the same thing. We want to target the same audience, that new practitioner into jiu-jitsu, people that are looking for something that is more tangible, something that is more relatable, and it's not just like high level black belts and brown belts talking about how difficult jiu-jitsu is for them, because it's different.
Yeah, if you Google "my jiu-jitsu sucks," I want our podcast to come up, right? Like, I want you to be like, where can I go to get some insight or some help? And am I the only person going through this?
Yeah.
And I hope that's the people that are coming to listen as well.
Yeah, so go check out Jim Trick, MyWhiteBelt on Instagram, MyWhiteBelt podcast. His White Belt Wednesday is his My White Belt Wednesday is his newsletter. Sign up for that. He's got a lot of good stuff on there too. So, but John, you kind of alluded to it in your answer. What is number 4?
We got Steve Kwan, The Hobbyist Guide to Jiu-Jitsu, and we recorded that January 31st.
Oh wow,
2022.
I can't believe it's been that long. Holy crap. I thought it was earlier or later than that.
Man, he was really smart. That guy, he had some brains on him. And he talks a lot of concepts. I appreciate that. Concepts help me out a lot. A lot of times it helps me learn, right? I need like that structure. So I just like to hear it and think about it from different angles. That helps me out a lot.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about his interview was because Steve has been very successful in jiu-jitsu because of it. He also has a podcast, BJJ Mental Models, if you guys don't know. But he's had a lot of success in jiu-jitsu and in the community. Also, one, because he's a black belt, and then he does, BJJ Mental Models and things like that. But he has an authority within our community, and he's never competed. Like, he's not a high-level competitor, right? His brother is, but he's not a high-level competitor. And it shows that you don't need to compete in jiu-jitsu to have a say in jiu-jitsu, right? It's not only the competitors out there that get to dictate the conversation and the techniques and how we execute things within the community. It could be someone that just really loves jiu-jitsu and just wants to do it for fun, right? You have a voice too. You can be an authority within our space and not be a high-level competitor.
Yeah, I think he was the first person we really talked to that talked about you don't have to compete.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that was like a light bulb, right? Because, it was such a talk. And, at that time in our school, and everyone was talking about competing, and you had to compete, and we're like, man, I don't know if I really want to.
Yeah, I agree, and that was what was really cool about Steve, is because we talk to people that compete and other black belts and whatnot, and they always say you don't have to compete, but they're high level competitors. You know what I mean? So it's kind of not. I'm not saying we're taking it for face value, but it's different to hear from a black belt that says you don't have to compete. I didn't compete. I still got my black belt. And I did it within, I think he got it within 10 years, which is about average for a black belt. And, he's walked the walk and talked the talk. And now he can still do impressive things and have an audience and help a lot of people with their competition. Like that's a big thing too, is like his platform is for people that compete in jiu-jitsu too. It's conceptual, and he has a lot of high-level competitors on in his Mental Models Premium that, you know, help build these courses to help you understand jiu-jitsu better and get through these things in your journey. And it's cool because I want to compete, but I probably won't ever compete. I might do it once, maybe just once, but it's motivating to me to know that I don't have to compete in order to find success in the space.
Absolutely.
You know, so what was your favorite part of the episode, though? If you could pick one part.
I think really when he explained for me that he was a hobbyist.
Yeah.
Right? And he talks about his brother.
Yep.
The differences between them both. And I think at that time I was struggling, like I said, a little bit about that, right? Like, man, like pressure, I talked about that before, but like I am a hobbyist, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm an athlete that's training 5-6 times a week, 2-a-days with a nutritionist that's making my food.
Yeah.
You know, and then hearing him talk about a hobbyist with the success, we don't need all that pressure on us, man.
Right.
We're paying to go do this.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
And you can, like you said, have success as a hobbyist.
Yeah, my favorite part of that interview was probably his answer on how to find a good school, because it threw me off.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? Like, I was like, he mentioned, well, you should find out who the leading instructor is or who owns the school, and then Google their name with keywords like so-and-so sexual assault, so-and-so DUIs, or like all these like negative things that you don't want them to show up and search for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that they don't have any cases against them for things that you don't want to be associated with.
And I think that's the first time we heard mention of a schedule. And you should make sure they have a schedule that you can support. Because if you can't, obviously, if there's not a class time that works for you, you're not going to go.
Right. And that kind of, after he mentioned that to us too, I've really started focusing on like our schedule. And I've been trying to, ever since then, I've been dropping little cues at Cody's ear, our gym owner. Like, hey, man, can we get more classes? Hey, man, can we get more classes?
Can we get an earlier
more
class?
times? Can we get more times? And it hasn't happened yet, but 2023 is the year.
No doubt.
So,
welcome, everyone. This episode of Elbows Tight podcast is brought to you by Amino Co. Travis, go ahead and tell us about Amino Co.
So I have been using Perform by Amino Co. It is 100% science-backed formula, patented, and it is a great pre-workout and intra-workout. Some of the science behind it is it supports athletic performance by triggering muscle protein synthesis and reducing muscle breakdown during exercise. It improves the mental focus and decreases the feelings of fatigue by providing the optimal balance of neurotransmitter precursors. And then finally, it increases nitric oxide production and promotes energy for sustained peak performance. I've been using this about 30 minutes before my jiu-jitsu classes, and I must say it has been helping me immensely. I feel more focused. I feel more energized. Recovery after class feels much better. I wake up in the morning after and don't feel nearly as beaten up, and it tastes great. I have the pink lemonade right here. I have the blue raspberry coming in. John, where can people at home find this?
You can go to aminoco.com/elbowstight. You can use the code elbowstight. You'll get 30% off. Again, go to aminoco.com/elbowstight. Use the code elbowstight to get 30% off, and you get a free gift with every purchase.
Ooh.
Thank you, Amino Co.
Thank you, guys. And then our number 3 episode is the man, the myth, the legend, Hiasam Rida, Giraffes kills lions. John, how was that episode, man?
Dude, I love that episode.
Yeah.
For many reasons, not just the jiu-jitsu, but when he talks about his life journey and where he lived and how he moved and what his dad did and how he got into training in Japan. Like, that guy, he was really motivating just because he was such a good person. Like that, I told you.
Yeah.
After that interview, I got more out of like what a good guy he is.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about his jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal episode, and I think we got him on the show at the prime time too, because it was right after ADCC. It was right after he, submitted Cyborg with that arm bar, so there was a lot of traction behind his name, and we were very fortunate to have him come on our show right after that and talk about it. And hearing his story, like John mentioned, was, excuse me, what? That's another thing about these IPAs, terrible. Was so crazy to me. You know, how hard he fought to get to America to do the American trials. How he can't even leave America now because of his visa status. And if he's looking for, I think he said like he has to get like a more of a long-term visa or something like that. And then if he can't go home until he gets that, and you know he can't go back to Japan, and
his horrible timing of coming over as COVID is hitting.
Dude, it's like crazy. And then now every time I see him, like he just competed in the UFC grappling event, the Life Fight Pass, and I was like, "Come on, Hiasam, come on, man!" Like it's like someone I know that I'm like cheering for. So that's another cool thing about doing these interviews with people is I naturally become a fan, even more of a fan for them because, you know, we've shared, you know, an hour and a half together. And, you know, I always keep in contact with the people on the show. So that's been a great aspect of it too. So seeing people's successes and failures, no matter what, I'm behind them unless, you know, something comes up where I'm like, all right, well, I can't get behind you on that, bro. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
So, but what was your favorite moment in that episode, John?
Oof. I think the most impactful for me in that one was where he talked about coming over to the U.S., his experience when he first got here, but as far as like the COVID, right?
Yeah.
And like he gets this opportunity of a lifetime, right? He finally comes over here, and now he has to persevere through this crap, right? He said couldn't go anywhere, couldn't train, like almost getting depressed, right? And I was like, man, like we were all there, right? Like 100%. But then he just gets through it, and then he goes. He has awesome match. I loved hearing him talking about the rash guard. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Oh, his Hyperfly rash guard?
Yeah. I mean, the guy just had a lot of depth. He had a lot of character. And like I said, he seemed like a really good guy. I felt like we could have been friends with him, like, you know, for life after that. Like, those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with.
Yeah. And, you know, he's like very motivated right now to be the best in the world and whatnot. And he is built a lot like Cody, our gym owner. Cody's 6'4", 6'5", 220 pounds, just like Hiasam. And I would love to see those guys lock horns, man.
Bro, I don't know. I don't know if Cody's ready for something like that, you know. I don't know.
There's like, Hiasam is another guy I would love to roll with just because of the contrast in size and obviously contrast in skill too. But like just feeling someone like just that level and like how they react and how smooth they are. I like watching his Instagram stuff because he's always like just going to like those guys are like going to war. I feel like in training sometimes.
That small taste of that level we had with Nathan Orchard when he came down. I'm like, I know that these people are well beyond our leagues.
Yeah, man, we talk about it all the time, but when we rolled with Nathan Orchard, it was just like a whole nother level, man. Like, incredible. When it is your full-time job to compete against the best in the world, it's like just ridiculous, man. If you guys go to a seminar with like someone like a Nathan Orchard or like a Craig Jones or Mason Fowler, who just won this last week on that UFC Fight Pass, if you guys go against these people and just like a casual roll, and you just realize that they're just mopping you up and down on the mat with so little effort, it really puts into perspective of how good those guys that they're going against are, and then how little you know about jiu-jitsu.
Basically, they're like Zeus and you're a peasant.
Yeah.
And they're not even trying.
Not even trying, man.
They're letting you do whatever. They're not even trying.
Yeah. When I rolled against Nathan Orchard, and at the end of the roll, he said, "Oh, you must be what, a blue belt?" And I was like, "Yes." That was a compliment.
Yeah.
So, but Hiasam Rida was a great interview. My favorite part of the interview would probably have to be the whole story about being in Japan and having to take a year off of school just to learn Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
That was crazy. And the two, I liked hearing how hopeful he is with MMA and Jiu-Jitsu in Africa, like back home, and how it's starting to come up. And I thought that was really cool. And we talked about that. That's more towards the end of the episode if you guys haven't heard it. But he explains that it's picking up traction back home, and now there's like more schools opening up, more people getting exposed to it. And this, like I mentioned before, the more people we get in jiu-jitsu, the more competitors or the more people that fall in love with it, the better it is for everyone, you know. And so that was really cool to hear. And for him to not be able to go back home yet, but he's looking forward to doing it. And he mentioned too, he's kind of like coming from where he's from, he's kind of like building a name for himself back home too. Mm-hmm. So, and his rash guard signifies that with the black star of oh my God, Ghana. He's from Ghana, and it's just cool. It's just cool, man. That was a great experience. We timed it perfectly. He came on the show perfectly, and we got a lot of success from that episode. So I can't complain about it at all. So, but number 2 episode of the year, John, who was it?
Laurenz Pakter. That was a really good one as well,
dude.
So I'm gonna beat you on the punch on this one. My favorite part of his podcast was when he went to the new school as a blue belt.
Yeah,
I can't remember what the name of the school was that he was going to, but he went in there with his blue belt and got just trashed, like mopped up all over the floor. He's like, "What the hell do I even have this belt for? Like, I might as well turn it in." And then he trains there, and I don't think he started over there. I don't remember.
But he said he did. Yeah, he gave him back his blue belt.
Yeah. Like that's how bad of that experience. You know, like you go in there, you got all that confidence, and you get crushed. And they ended up staying there training, and I could totally relate to that story when he was talking about it.
Yes.
And it's like when I went and visited a local gym, and I felt the same way. They just crushed me.
Yep.
I was like, man, maybe I just need to go ahead and turn this in.
Who is Laurenz? If people haven't listened to it back home, who is he? What significance is it?
Hyperfly does the gis. I believe it was their. It's a family-run business, by the way.
Yeah, his parents own it.
Yeah, and he's part of the marketing team, I think.
Creative director.
Yeah, creative director.
So the crazy designs that you see, it's like he's part of the people that come up with it. So, and he is a purple belt, 7-year purple belt. He talks about it. He's had like inconsistencies in his journey also, which was cool to hear. Because I don't know, man. Like it's with our most recent episode with Christina, I mentioned how it's nice to hear when people are very candid with their journey and how they're, even though they know this is going to go out to thousands of people and people are going to listen to it, they're okay with being open about the difficulties within their journey. Because nowadays we live in a social media heavy, Instagram heavy, look at me, nothing's wrong, like I don't have any problems society. I really enjoy when people are open and they acknowledge that it's not perfect. They're not perfect. Their journey's not perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not always sugar and sunshine, man.
Right. So that was really cool. My favorite episode, or my favorite part of his episode, man, there's so many good parts of it. But I would probably have to agree with you, John. Him going back to being a white belt after entering a new school. It's funny too. It wasn't even his idea to go do that. He says his parents thought it would be good for him to go to another school and test his blue belt. And when he tested his blue belt at that new school, he just got his butt kicked. So
yeah,
that was a really good part of the episode. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, that was interesting because we had Hiasam on the show, and then directly after Hiasam, Laurenz came on the show, and so we got to talk about some of our people that we've had on the show and future guests, hopefully, and how they're related. Like Matthew Gillette. If you guys haven't listened to his episode, that was a really good one too. But Laurenz knows him obviously because Matt has been sponsored by Hyperfly since he was a blue belt, I think he said, or something like that. So it was cool talking about someone that we mutually know and hearing stories and things like that. So, and I think Hiasam kind of played into us being able to get Laurenz on the show. So that was really cool. And I loved his stuff. He was even outside of the interview, when we were talking on Instagram and stuff like that, he's been very cordial. He's got, like, we exchanged numbers, so like I have his number, so if I need anything from him or if he needs anything from me, we could talk, like the phone. But he's so busy. If you guys follow him on Instagram, that dude's like always doing something. So maybe one day we'll get him back on the show. That'd be kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
But Jon, number 1 episode of the year,
Jordan Preisinger.
the power of learning jiu-jitsu through YouTube. This was the first episode of the year and has maintained the lead the entire year for good reason, man. How was that episode, Jon?
Jordan is a smart guy, and I know you talk to him pretty frequently.
Yeah, I talk to him just about every day now.
His video content is amazing. It's clear. It's fun to watch. And I remember, like, when we first interviewed him, you were like, hey, you got to go check him out. So I went and looked, and I was like, God damn, this shit looks good.
Yep.
Right? Jordan's a really smart guy, and I also like he doesn't bullshit around, right? Like, he's pretty blunt about some stuff, too, like my lazy ass and not training, right? Like, even joking around, he's like, oh, blue belt quitting, you know? And I'm like, yeah, he's right. You know what I mean? I could appreciate that, but he's a really smart guy, and I enjoy his videos, and I like that podcast.
Yeah, Jordan's Preisinger, when he first came on our show, I think his YouTube page was at maybe 40,000 people. More 40,000 subscribers, I think. And he set a goal to have 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube page within 1 year of starting it. And he did it. He hit 100,000 subscribers like 2-3 months ago. Now he's at like 110, 115,000 subscribers on YouTube. So he's had an exponential year through YouTube. He's also started his own podcast, which has been Talk Jitsu is his new podcast name. It used to be Jordan Talks Jiu-Jitsu, but now it's called Talk Jitsu, and it's with Mike from his YouTube page. He was on our show also, and then Joey, which was Jordan's first black belt that he promoted to black belt. Great show.
Yeah, Jordan talked. I remember my podcast. He was the first chance we had to really talk to someone that was really getting affected by the COVID lockdowns.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, keeping the business open.
How difficult it was.
Yeah, and I remember that was really impactful, right? There's a guy that really loves what he's doing, and he's trying to survive through those times. And I remember, like, man, you could tell he's really into it.
Yeah. Yeah, his passion for jiu-jitsu is inspiring. Not only that, but like I mentioned before, like we became really good friends after the interview, and we talk just about every day. And I can tell you guys, when he puts content out and when he talks about wanting to help the community, he is 100% honest. Like, his whole goal is to just help people in jiu-jitsu. He wants to deliver the best content possible. If you look at his YouTube page, it's obvious. Like Jon mentioned, his content is great. If you guys haven't checked him out, it's Jordan Teaches Jiu-Jitsu on YouTube. It was such a great conversation. He's very candid. I'm not gonna lie though. We never told Jordan this, but the beginning of the interview was.
I wasn't gonna say it.
It was a little difficult. I think he listens to our solo episodes. He doesn't listen to our interviews. But when we first started, it was a little bit of a difficult conversation.
He's really confident, and you don't know how to take that.
Yeah.
Like right out the bat, like first conversation.
Yeah.
But I think 30 minutes into that, then we realized.
I don't even think it was 30 minutes, but yeah, it's definitely.
It was 30 minutes for me. I was like, no.
Love you, Jordan, but yeah, no. When you first started, I was like, why'd you get into jiu-jitsu? I knew I was going to be amazing at it. I was like, oh Jesus Christ!
I was like, I'm out. All right.
But it's true, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's phenomenal.
He's phenomenal. He's found the success in jiu-jitsu because of that. So, but what did you say your favorite part of that episode was?
Honestly, it was just hearing him talk about how COVID impacted his gym.
Yeah.
How he was trying to stay open and how they would train around it. Because at the time, right, like we were all thinking about that, you figure a year ago. I really took a lot from that. Like, that was my favorite part. I found it was really interesting. I want to say we even talked about Canadian gun laws for a minute there. But,
yeah.
But I can't that part I don't really remember. But I do just remember him talking about trying to stay open in Canada and how it affected the business, even so much as he couldn't really do a lot of online content because of like his internet bandwidth, things we don't even think about really, right? Like,
we tried to have him on the show again. Remember that?
Yeah.
We set it up. We go to press record and his internet wouldn't even allow him to record, allow me to record his stuff. It was crazy. I was like, what the hell is going on?
So think about being passionate about something, Your country's telling you need to close down. You can't stay open. You can't even get to the internet to do anything. I was like, man, talk about some struggles.
Yeah, that was such a great conversation. Jordan's a really good friend now. We've been trying to find a way to do content together. I'm going to send him some rolling footage, and he's going to put it up on his channel as one of the ideas. Also, I'm like trying to get him to come up to Washington or come over to Washington so we can roll at our school and whatnot.
Just don't send him my last video rolling. I mean, he could critique 100%
doing it.
Go ahead and send it. I don't care.
No, so what was your favorite? Well, before we continue on, that was our 5 top episodes from you guys, download wise. And Jon, what was your favorite episode if it was outside of that top 5? Who do you think was the best this year?
Oh, that's interesting. I really like Hiasam.
Hiasam?
That's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, he had like, I know we talked about it in this episode. I would have to go back and re-listen to it again, but I remember he had so many like little nuggets of truth and inspiration in that interview.
Yeah,
it's hard to really remember them all.
Yeah,
but I mean, just from all the struggles he had, from integrating into school, learning a new language, like you said, coming over to the U.S., especially when like immigration is a big deal in the U.S. right now, and how people see that in their different opinions and views. And then you talk to a guy like him and you see how genuine he is and how much he wants to help people. It's probably my favorite one.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing I like most about Hiasam was like his humbleness. Like he's had all these successes and notoriety lately, and he's still very grateful to even be in the States, being able to compete full time, and even through all the adversities, like he's just so happy that he's able to do it. You know what I mean? Like I think that's great because a lot of people don't show that. You know, they're not going to be as humble as him. Like he just kept being like he kept thanking like everything. You know what I mean? Like he was so happy.
That's why it was my favorite.
Yeah, so I would probably say mine's a toss up between Christina's was just so good, man. That was a really, really good one. Hiasam was really good. But I'll probably have to go with Kieran. And the reason I would say Kieran Lefebvre is because it was like talking. No, I take that back. I'm gonna say Adolfo. Adolfo was probably one of my favorite episodes because it was just a bunch of blue belts BSing about jiu-jitsu.
That's true.
You know, Adolfo Ferranda. If you guys don't know who he is, that was this year, wasn't it?
It'll be close.
Maybe it wasn't this year. Maybe it was last year. I'll have to look that up. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with Kieran. My original Kieran. Because it was the same reason. It was just like a couple blue belts BSing about it. But he had a lot of great knowledge about nutrition and whatnot. Jon and I actually bought the supplements that he recommended.
Yeah, everything he recommended I would have got.
That was a really, really good conversation. And like Jon mentioned, he didn't mention it on the show, but afterwards, he's like, Kieran's is just very personable. It was a fun conversation. Like it was really cool to talk to him about everything. And I like the science behind nutrition and exercise and everything like that because of my background. And it was a lot of fun. Not only that, but you guys don't know, but there was a lot of like after I released all his stuff, people were commenting like this stuff is fake, like he doesn't know what he's talking about. But that's like anytime you get into like the strength and conditioning and nutrition area, people are always going to think they're smarter than the guys who's talking. You know what I mean? So, but if you were, then someone would be interviewing you. You know?
Oh, there you go. Everyone's an expert until they're not.
That's right. So, but yeah, so that was my favorite episode. And then, Jon, who would do you have anyone on a bucket list that you would like us to interview in 2023?
Ooh, that's an interesting question to spring on me there, Travis. I mean, the one person I've always wanted to interview, we did, which was Roy Dean.
Yeah.
That was like the pinnacle for me, right? I was like, always wanted to talk to him. We were so heavily into his content. It would be nice to talk to him again.
Yeah, we can hit him up.
Difficulties at one time.
Yeah.
Man, who do I want to talk to again? Or who would I like to? I don't know.
Got to sit down and do so. You're not big into the jiu-jitsu scene and community right now, though, like I am. So
yeah, I mean, for the people that really have impact on me, it's like the people that I know, right? Like, Alan Hernandez, every time I get a chance to talk to him, I feel like, it's valuable. He knows us. He rolled with us. He's high level, great guy.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Mine would be, I would like to get Jordan on the show again, talk to Jordan again. Maybe January we'll be able to talk to him again. Tell you the truth, though, we have a lot of guests in the queue right now that want to come on the show, but Jon and I are only recording 2 interviews a month right now, so we might have to kick that up to get all these people, and then just have a line of episodes we can slowly release each month. Because, like I mentioned, we're trying to do 2 interviews a month and then 2 solo episodes, because it just makes my job easier, not having to do interviews all the time. But I would have to say, I really would like to talk to Mason Fowler. If you guys don't know who he is, look him up. He's been on the list for a while. I DM and stuff like that, but I'm sure he just doesn't see him because we're no one. So,
so if I had to pick top 2 for me that I'd like to talk to, we'll go Joe Rogan or Gordon Ryan.
Ooh, I think Gordon Ryan is a possibility. Joe Rogan, definitely not.
You never know.
You never know. I don't know how many jiu-jitsu podcasts he's done, but you never know. I would also like Tom Hardy. I would like to get Tom Hardy on the show.
Yeah, that would be interesting too.
Or Keanu Reeves, because Keanu Reeves does it. Or any like celebrity really. I think it'd be kind of cool. Like Mario Lopez, he's a blue belt. That'd be kind of cool to tie. Ed O'Neill, yeah, he's a black belt actually. Yeah, under the Gracies.
Maybe I could reach out to him and be like, "We grew up together, man. Married with children. Come on, I was there for you."
That'd be another good conversation. Yeah. So, but so that's pretty much the recap of 2022. I'm excited to see what endeavors come in 2023 for us. If it's going to be anything like these last couple months, I'm ecstatic to see the possibilities and the successes that we'll have. So, and once again, it all plays into you guys. So thank you guys so much at home for showing us the support, sharing the podcast. Telling everyone about it, following us on Instagram, all that stuff. Thank you guys. It really, everything you guys do does play a role and a part in the success of the show. And it's crazy to think 3.5 years ago, it started off in my house, in my spare bedroom, a little plastic table with 2 USB microphones, and Jon and I talking about
cheap ass chairs.
Yeah, and talking about our BS and who would have ever thought interviewing our friends would lead to interviewing some of the coolest people in the industry?
The early struggles, like, how can we get taxi money for our guests to get home?
Yeah. Oh, man, I completely forgot about that. We used to bring people over my house, and Jon and I would figure out how we can get them as drunk as possible and home safely. Real, right? You remember that? Yeah. We're like, all right, if I order...
I wonder if we get a Lyft sponsor or something.
Yeah, I remember Uber. That. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. I did hit up Lyft, and I was like, hey, is there any way you can give our guests a discount to use your service to get them to my house for podcasting? We'll give you a shout out and everything like that. And they stopped. They don't sponsor podcasts, but it was a possibility. And now we just do everything remotely. I don't even know how to do an in-person interview anymore.
Yeah, I think we did one not too long ago. We messed it all up.
Yeah. It's man, that's crazy. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. It's so cool to see what has came from this show and everything like that. So I keep talking about it. I'll shut up about it, but it's been great. So thank you guys so much. Jon, you got anything else, man?
Feel free to let us know who you would like us to interview.
Ooh,
in 2023.
That's a good one.
That would be the best way to do it.
Yeah. Let us know. Hit us up in the DMs if there's a specific... Some of you guys do. And I have talked to these people that you guys have recommended for the show. We've had on in the past and also in the future I'm going to have on. But once again, we cut back on interviewing people because it's easier for us to produce more content, not interviewing people every weekend. Shoot, maybe we'll have to start doing batch interviews on the weekends or something.
I think it's time to start bringing in some of our fellow gym people, though, for some interviews. They've progressed so much in the last couple of years. I think they'd have some good insight.
Very true. So, but hey, guys, thank you so much for listening and watching at home. If you guys have any suggestions for future guests or your favorite episodes, what your favorite moment of the year was, shoot us a DM. I'm sure I'll probably post a story on our Instagram where you guys can put your input in. But we don't really have anything else, man. And remember, no oil checks here.
Loose.
All right, guys. Peace.